Hey guys, so Mayor from MMOs.com doing a quick weekly news recap for all major MMO news and announcements of the week ending December 28th, 2015. This episode number 23 of the recap, and I hope everyone had an awesome Christmas and whatever other holidays that happened this week that makes people say Happy Holidays instead of just Merry Christmas. Anyway, the first bit of news this week isn't particularly good news. That news, of course, is Triad Wars is shutting down, and Triad Wars was supposed to be the sequel to Sleeping Dogs, except with some MMO elements. Unfortunately, the game is set to shut down for good on January 20th, 2016, at exactly 12 p.m. They even got the closure down to the hour. The news is a bit odd because the game never actually launched. It's been in beta since October of 2014. And clearly the game hasn't done too well, which is why they're saying that they're making the game close already. The game took a weird direction as players couldn't actually compete and interact with each other directly the way you would think in an MMO or an online game. Instead, you competed asynchronously with base rating, almost like Clash of Clans. So it was definitely a confusing title. But what makes it a little bit weird is the game never launched. It should have been available publicly. They should have tried it, and then if it didn't catch on, then shut it down. It's just always odd to see a game shut down before even leaving beta. But anyway, rest in pepperoni, Triad Wars. Next up, some positive news this time, aside from Phantasy Star Online 2, which still doesn't have a Western release date. The game's latest chapter, episode 4, is previewed and its new planet is unveiled. The game's newest episode takes place in a typical city-like environment, except for the random assortment of T-Rexes, zombie policemen, and helicopters randomly hovering just above the ground. So yes, this may be the first game that you can actually fight against a helicopter using a sword. Phantasy Star Online 2 originally released back in 2012, so that's why it's kind of weird that it never launched over here when it was supposed to launch in the West, but it just never did. If you want to play the game, though, you still can on the Japanese or Southeast Asian servers, but you do need to use a VPN, which we have a guide for on MMOs.com if you're interested. Again, I kind of wish they just launched the title in English already, but alas, it probably won't happen anytime soon, else it would have probably happened a while ago. Next up, a bit of news from Steam. Not really from Steam, but rather what happened to Steam. Actually on Christmas Day, the service went down for a lot of people, and people were actually randomly logging into other users' accounts. They would just log into Steam, and they would see themselves as other users, which created a lot of problems because they could see where people's profile information, the address, and not their payment information though apparently, but a lot of stuff was publicly available. So for lack of better words, it created a bit of a shitstorm because Steam was not usable, at least efficiently, plus it was super laggy and largely unusable for a lot of people on Christmas Day. Valve did release a final statement just somewhat recently, actually later on that day, that they said basically it was a caching issue which was eventually fixed, so nothing should have been hacked. They basically said their systems are a-okay, so you don't have to worry. And the video you're seeing in the background is actually the official CSGO trailer, mainly because this bit of news doesn't have to do with any particular game, but CSGO is one of the most popular games on Steam, and plus, it's kind of a neat CGI trailer. Up next, probably the most interesting news of the week, Paragon from Epic Games releases an actual gameplay trailer. We first learned about Paragon recently with an announcement trailer which didn't get around to showing too much actual gameplay. For those that don't know, Paragon is yet another MOBA trying to compete in an extremely competitive genre. The game is by Epic Games, which is the same company that brings us the popular Unreal Engine, which powers countless video games. Aside from just the gameplay trailer we're seeing right now, we actually learned that the Paragon is going to beta testing sometime in January, followed by a paid early access program in the spring, with a full-blown release, open beta sometime in the summer of 2016, and it will be available for both PC and PS4. Gameplay-wise, it's very much a MOBA, and it reminds me of Smite or Overwatch or Paladins, because there are obviously some more action-y elements in the game, but we'll see when it comes out. Moving right along, Battlestate Games released a new video this week showing off some more gameplay in their upcoming shooter, Escape from Tarkov. The video previews inventory and looting systems, which actually doesn't sound too exciting. But for many of you guys that never heard of Escape from Tarkov, it's actually a highly ambitious title that's supposed to feature a huge world, kind of like DayZ and other survival games, except without the zombies, and feature quests as well as a large overarching story, along with, of course, PvP and base looting, as well as raiding. It's definitely an ambitious title, and when I first heard about it a few months ago when they first announced it, I was a bit skeptical, but now that we're seeing some actual gameplay trailers, it seems to be coming together well, though according to their website, they're still in quote-unquote pre-alpha, whatever that means. I mean, how close is pre-alpha to early access, and how long until from pre-alpha to alpha to beta? It's a whole mess. So don't expect the game to be released anytime soon, though it does look interesting. And moving right along, we got some news from Dragomon Hunter, and it's more of a milestone event, really. They reached 500,000 users this week, and they launched a few Christmas events, which is not too surprising, because everybody launched Christmas events last week or the week before that. So they claimed, again, 500,000 active community members, quote-unquote active, and they've tamed approximately 750,000 Dragomons, which is approximately 1.5 Dragomons per player, so the average player only tamed a single Dragomon. I mean, I cannot imagine that's the case. I feel like they're just fluffing that number, because 500,000 users are clearly not all that active. But hey, 500,000 users that quickly, even if they're active or not, is still a milestone and an achievement in and of itself. Next up, ELOA launches its first ever expansion pack, and ELOA of course standing for Elite Lord of Alliance, a Korean game which originally launched under a different name and was later replaced with a bit of drama, but the game is out officially through Webzen now, and the game's first major expansion launched already, and it's called Episode 1, or rather Part 1, and it raises the game's level cap to 40, adds 2 new dungeons called the Spider Cave, as well as Guantaro's Hideout, as well as a new map. Not a fan of the first expansion's name though, it's called Part 1, that's kind of uninspiring. But anyway, Part 1 is already out for the game, so feel free to check it out. And the video you're seeing in the background is actually the official expansion trailer. And I'm not gonna lie, the trailer looks pretty badass. I feel like these game trailers always look better than the actual game. Next up, a bit of news regarding Tera, but some news that's not really relevant to Western audiences, and it's more international. But Han Game, Tera's Korean publisher, is focusing on mobile games, so they're shutting down Tera in Korea. However, Nexon is picking up the service now officially, so basically the Korean version of Tera will shut down through Han Game on January 25th. However, the Nexon version will pick up right away on the next day on January 26th, so there'll really be no interruption for players. It's just interesting to see that Han Game is totally ditching a game that's been successful worldwide to focus more on mobile games, so luckily for players, there's really no interruption of service, just a new publisher, which changes nothing for them, and Nexon has promised that when they'll take over the service, there'll be a much better experience with new classes, flying mounts, and all these other goodies, which they'll be focusing on. Next up, a bit of news from Flyff for Fun. Yes, Flyff, a classic which is published by Webzen. The news is that they're actually celebrating their 10th anniversary, so Flyff for Fun has been in service for 10 years. That's definitely impressive. It's one of the older MMORPGs in the West, and probably it's been a very long-running game, so it's one of the classics, and it still remains somewhat relevant today, as on Webzen as well as on private servers. And so in order to celebrate the game's 10th anniversary, they're giving players up until January 5th the opportunity to log into the game and get their characters instantly boosted to level 60. So anyone that wants a free level 60 with level 50 gear to go along with it, as well as 3 times XP bonuses, go ahead and log on to Flyff for Fun this week and go ahead and enjoy that free level 60 if you still care about the game. I can't imagine there are too many people still interested in the official Flyff, but if there is, now's the time to check it out. And finally, the next and last bit of news this week, guys, comes from the Elder Scrolls Legends, which is pushed back until 2016. And if you don't remember the Elder Scrolls Legends, it's a trading card game spin-off of the Elder Scrolls franchise, which was announced, I think, a few months ago. So I guess it was supposed to launch earlier, but now it is delayed until later in 2016, according to various tweets from Bethesda. And the video we're seeing in the background is the Elder Scrolls E3 2015 teaser trailer. I mean, they did actually say that the game was playable, even though we're not seeing any actual gameplay in this trailer, but they did want to delay it to make it more polished, and it's supposed to be their competitor to Hearthstone, but we'll see how it actually does. Anyway, guys, that's it for MMO news for the week ending December 28th, 2015. Not too much to cover this week, probably because of Christmas and all that. But anyway, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later, guys. Not sure why I said we, because it's only me doing this, but you know what? I said it. It's there. Later, guys.